All right, everyone, we got to talk about CNN and Marc Lamont Hill. He's been booted off as a contributor to CNN a couple days ago because he made comments at the UN, actually gave a little speech. And he was like, well, I call for a free and independent Palestine from the river to the sea. And this was taken by some, especially people on the right. This is the ironic part. But maybe some of the Hannity types. They took this as an anti-Semitic statement saying, well, we need to get rid of the Jews, basically get rid of Israel, it should be Palestine or something. Now, he's come out and he said, that's not actually what I meant. What I'm talking about is just an independent Palestine within the 67 border framework or something. Like the original mandate that they were going to establish so that there would be a sovereign Palestine with its own government, with its own stability, that wouldn't be simply a perpetually embargoed strip of land, and then the West Bank, which has Jewish settlements drilled into it. It's actually interesting how you can have, it almost looks like the pre-2016 borders between India and Bangladesh. They had that one area where it was heavily populated, and it's like one side of the street is Bangladesh, the other's India. So you've got that situation in the West Bank, and then the Gaza Strip it's got a no man's land around it. It's fenced off, it's heavily embargoed. They can't get things in and out, except with the will of this other state that claims that land as sovereign entity anyway. Here's what I would say. First and foremost, he shouldn't have been booted off as a contributor. He's saying that his comments did not relate to, get rid of Israel and stuff. And if they did, it's just his opinion. Who cares? He doesn't have the ability to actually, what's he going to do? Marc Lamont Hill's going to airdrop into Jerusalem and start killing Jews? I don't think so. It's not exactly a grave threat. I can understand, though, in one sense. Here's the aside, though. CNN is a private company, and they need to make this clear. They're a private company. This is at-will contribution. There's no magical status that's given to a corporation simply because it runs a newspaper or a cable TV show, cable news. The press is much more vast than that. Yeah, they're a private entity. This is at will, but also they shouldn't be constantly claiming, oh, my First Amendment this, my First Amendment that. No, you have no more rights than any other random citizen, including Marc Lamont Hill. He has the right to address the UN and say whatever he wants. The UN applauded him. They didn't have a problem with it. I guess they didn't construe it the same way some other people did when they angrily emailed CNN demanding that he be reprimanded for this. So now he's out of that gig. And of course, he's not exactly going to become a Fox contributor. By the way, is he Islamic? Is he, an Islamist or of Palestinian extraction? I don't know enough about him, so I'm not going to get into that too much. So on the one hand, he probably shouldn't have been booted as a contributor. It is free speech. He can criticize Israel all he wants. I do find it funny, though. You look at the hypocrisy. People go after him for this. There's plenty of similar criticism of Israel and of other countries online, and it leads to people getting deplatformed. And these are the same groups of people that are like, my free speech and all other times. But you're not allowed to criticize. They always have some sort of special group that they don't want to criticize. For some, it's Israel. For some, it's Palestine. For some, it's like LGBT, or some people are like, well, you can't criticize like whites. Don't punch right. Don't criticize any white conservative in name, because then the liberals win or something. Everyone has these like little special snowflake things that they don't want criticized. And then they try to weaponize these corporations, actually, whether it be a tech firm or a cable news or something like that, or a newspaper. They try to weaponize them, especially in the fiscal sense, to try to get people kicked off so that they have less of a voice. We've seen this recently with Loomer getting banned from Twitter. And of course then completely trolling them. And then, of course, there are people that think that she's beyond redemption because, she's Jewish. It's a terrible time. It's like fucking, argue for free speech. It doesn't really matter now, does it? If you have free speech, you have to worry about Loomer thinking that people shouldn't be able to be part of the boycott and divestment movement or whatever. No, don't have censorship. It's not a problem anymore now, is it? We should have total free speech. Yeah, Marc Lamont Hill should be able to say those things if he wants. Why, by the way, should CNN care? CNN says off-the-wall crazy shit all the time. Not just their contributors. They're actual pundits. Oh, don't read the WikiLeaks releases. Basically attacking the First Amendment, attacking the very idea of literacy, in a sense, very amusing. Don't read these, it's illegal. You let us tell you what you need to know from them. Yeah, it's nothing shady here. Fuck CNN. So yeah, he should what he should do is start a podcast. No, it should be online. It's funny. It's very, very funny. The left's reaction to Israel is becoming more amusing. Because on the one hand, you have the nationalistic element, like build walls around Israel. You know, they have certain laws with regards to purity in the ethnic sense, in the most literal sense, in their judicial system. In the other hand, though, you have then, and then you have the Palestine issue. That's a big issue for the left. Then in the other sense, they fling around the term anti-Semite or Nazi to describe anyone who's to the right of Marx. So it's a really interesting issue. I would say, though, his comments, I can understand why they'd be construed as potentially like, hey, you know, beat up on these people, hail Palestine. But he didn't literally state that. So I'm not sure why CNN assumed the worst and went with, you know, maybe the initial gut reaction with regards to it, prodded on by some people that were angry. This is the sort of outrage mob that happens with content creators. Happened with PewDiePie when they were attacking his advertisers because of that Wall Street Journal hit piece. It wasn't prefaced on him actually being mean or hateful. It was prefaced on the claim by the Wall Street Journal that he was dog whistling to racists, which he wasn't, and he's denied it. And he's like, well, I'm getting fiscally screwed here based on basically defamation. Hey, by the way, here are the Wall Street Journal's advertisers. Have fun, people. Thought that was definitely the right way to respond. That's about all. Peace out.